Reshut Kal HaKadosh, everybody welcome. Be'ezrat Hashem, thank you for joining our kolo every day, Tuesday and Thursday. And Baruch Hashem, every day we have Masechet Sotah, Gemara. We're learning every day, 20 minutes in a fast track. Have many questions, many answers. Please everybody participate. Sponsor, you could zeli to the non-profit organization. You could do Rufuah Shlema, Hatzlacha, Baracha. Also, we have it at the shul at the Netz Minyan every day, 98-39 67th Avenue, Regal Park, New York, 11374, except for Shabbat. Shabbat, we're in Rabbi Chekshul. Be'ezrat Hashem, also we're going to say Baracha Tzlacha Yaakov ben Asher. Thank you for sponsoring the shul. So we're able to continue the rolling of the Torah in a Geminut Chasadim and a kindness. Also, I'm going to have to say quietly. כן יהי רצון ונאמר אמן, לעילוי נשמת רומא רחמים ben Mazal Nela. So we continue with our Pirkei Avot. Pirkei Avot says following. So we left off last time with Rabbi Akiva. So it says over here, Rabbi Akiva omer schok v'kalud rosh margilim et adam le'erva. Rabbi Akiva says giggling and laughing, that will bring a person a cause to have a sin, to be in an adulterous sin. Siyak masoret le-siyak le-Torah. We have a masoret, which is tradition, to have a put the siyak, which just means the fence for the Torah. Ma'aserot siyak lo-osher. Somebody does ma'aser, is the siyak is going to bring him to the richness or wealthy. Nadarim siyak le-prishut. So it says nedarim following. If a person does neder, is be separate from the prishut, which just means whatever the separation it needs to be done between him or whatever he's taken upon himself. Siyak lechokhma shtika. It says siyak lechokhma. If somebody wants to do a fence, a boundary between him and chokhma, shtika. Shtika, which just means if you're sitting between the chachamim and you want to say divrei Torah, you rather sit quiet, but you're allowed to answer questions and answers. So we talked about b'chol yom vayom Rabbi Akiva meivei chabila yitzim חצי מוכרע פרנסם וחצי המשתמש בה ועמד עליו שכנה ואמר עקיבא דתנו בעשן. So Rabbi Akiva following, it happens with the Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva used to sell woods, chopped woods. That's what he used to sell. Okay? וחצי המשתמש בה, half he would use it for his own personal needs. We're going to say what's his personal needs. And half he would sell. V'amru Akiva, ibdatunu ba'ashan. I say, Akiva, you made us, you basically destroyed us full of ashan, it was full of smoke. Okay? Mochel lanu otam, otel shemen bademehem. He says, sell all your woods. Instead of you having these woods that's supposed to be whatever the need that you need, sell us the woods, buy yourself a ner, which just means a candle, and through the oil with the candle, whatever you need to be done, it's going to be done. He says, I have a lot of need in these woods. What is it? One, he says, I able to learn while I have these woods next to me. One, he says, I would get myself a heat, which just means it's going to heat it for me. Third thing he says, I able to sleep on it. Wow. Third thing, I able to sleep on the woods. That's what the Rabbi Akiva said. One, I able to learn Torah with the woods. One, I able to have the light with the woods. And second thing, I would have the heat from the woods. The third thing, I would sleep on it. לא ניפטר רבי עקיבא מן העולם על שיעור שולחנו של כסף ושל זהב. Rabbi Akiva did not leave the world until age 120, until he had a table from the gold and the silver. Wow! From the gold and the silver. He had a bed. It was, I guess, bunk beds. Okay? It says the sulam, the ladder was made from the gold. How rich Rabbi Akiva has to be. The ladder has to be from the gold. She used to go out with the expensive, very expensive clothing. Be'ir shel zahav. And she used to have a crown from the gold. Amru talmidav Rebbe, ve'ishtanu ma she'asita la. The Talmidim say to Rabbi Akiva, Rebbe, you embarrass us. What you did to her? To his wife. Ve'ishtanu ma she'asit, amar lahem harbe tzar nitztara imi batorah. He said, Rabbi Akiva, she suffers so much with me that I was learning Torah. She was suffering. Maaseh Rabbi Akiva she'asa leishto ir shel zahav. Rabbi Akiva, he did for his wife. He says, when he was in a barn, living in a barn, he says, once I will get rich, I will give you a crown that is chakuk, which just means engraved Yerushalayim on it.
Sorry, is it the Rachel that's in Bavaria?
Rachel, right. Rachel, correct. Okay? So that's what happened, Rabbi Akiva, he did to his wife. Okay? Ra'ata ishto she Rabban Gamliel. Rabban Gamliel, all of a sudden, the wife of Rabban Gamliel saw Rabbi Akiva's wife. Mitkana. Oh, she had a jealousy. Ba'am ra'a leba'ala amala kach va'itesa le kama sheza asita lo. Says, Rabban Gamliel, why you don't do like to me, like Rabbi Akiva did to his what? To his wife. And that's what he's saying. Why you didn't do to me like you did to his wife? And that's the question, that he's asking. כמה עשתה לו? הייתה מוכרת מקלעות ראשה נתן שהוא עוסק בתורה. ירושלמי, מסכת שבת, chapter ו', הלכה א'. Says, the difference between you and her, she used to sell her hair in order for her to have a sustenance for the life. Says, you didn't do it what she did. That's why she deserved whatever she deserves. What she used to do, she used to sell her hair, in our language, modern term called hair extension. She used to sell her own hair in order to have sustenance, which just means the food to put on a table, while Rabbi Akiva was learning. And Rabban Gamliel said to his wife, you didn't get what she got. You didn't sell her your hair. Okay? שהייתה מוכרת מכלי ראשו נתנה, הוא עוסק בתורה. מעשה רבי עקיבא רואה אדם חד שהיה שחור כפחם, טעון הראש עצם, מתון 10 בני אדם, והיה רץ כמרוצה הסוס. So one time Rabbi Akiva saw one man, he says, very, very black. היה טעון הראש עצים, מטעון 10 בני אדם. He was carrying woods back and forth, that 10 people were ever able to carry. This person is carrying. He was running like a horse. Gazar alav Rabbi Akiva amideu. He says, excuse me, stop. Why are you running back and forth? Rabbi Akiva told him, Amar lo, lama ata oseh avodah kazot? Rabbi Akiva asking this guy that carrying the woods, that is running back and forth like a horse. He says, why are you working so hard? You carrying the 10 people that able to carry the woods? You carrying? Stop, he says, Rabbi Akiva. למה אתה עושה כזאת? אם עבדת אותה אדונך עושה לך כך? He says, this is your master, that you slave to your master, and that's what he does to you? אני יפדה אותך מידו. He says, Rabbi Akiva following. I would yivdeh. If you're a slave to your master, what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy you off of your master. V'im ani ata, Rabbi Akiva says, if you're poor, ani ashilach otcha. So if you're poor, I'm going to make you rich, Rabbi Akiva says. אמור לה בבקשה ממך, אל תעכבני שמא ירגזו עליי, אותם המונים עליי. He says to Rabbi Akiva, please, don't hold me over here. I don't have time. He says, there's angels that's punishing me. If you're going to keep me another minute, they're going to continue punishing me. אמור לה רבי עקיבא, מה זה? מה שמך? He says, who are you? What's your name? Where you come from? אמר מתני. He says, I'm a dead person. Rabbi Akiva saw this where? In a Bet HaKvarot. Bet HaKvarot, which is means in a cemetery. בכל יום ויום שולחים אותו לעוטף עצים ושורפים אותו בהם. He says, every day my punishment is like this. Every day I chop woods, I gather woods, they burn the woods and they burn me inside. And they again collect me back again. I do the same job, and that's my job all day. And that's what he does all day. So burning woods, he's inside the wood, they're burning with him. They gather him again together, he goes, runs, brings the woods again, and he does this over and over and over.
Rabbi, I'm sorry. Maybe the punishment of not doing that is worse?
Let's see, Rabbi. Bini, מה הייתה מלאכתך בעולם שבאת ממנו? He says, my dear son, what was your job before you came to this world? What were you before you were dead? What were you doing? אמר לו, גבאי המס הייתי. He says, I was working for the tax, IRS. That's what I was working. והיית נושא פנים לעשירים. He says, I used to suck up. I used to give a great deals to the rich people. והרג עניים, and I used to kill the poor people. That's what I used to do, he says. אמר לו רבי עקיבא, כלום שמעת מן הממונך, עליך אם יש לך תקנה. He says, Rabbi Akiva, is there a way I could help you? He's asking the dead person. אמר לו, שמעתי מהם דבר שאינו יכול להיות. אלו הייתה לכי בן שאומר בקהל ברכו את השם המבורך. He says, if my son would say ברכו את השם המבורך in a congregation, this for you and everybody else over here sitting. If a son, if the chas v'shalom father and the mother passed away, he says, if you're going to say ברכו את אמוני המבורך publicly through the congregation, or Kaddish, it doesn't make a difference, or Kaddish, ועונים אחריו, and afterwards they're going to answer, מיד מתירים אותם מן הפורענות. He says, once he's going to say, my son, these advices that I give you, Rabbi Akiva, everything that they punish me, I will be nullified from the punishment. We don't understand how much every good deed, or Kaddish, or Baruch Hu, and anything that we do, how much is upstairs in the heavens, able to nullify the decree. The guy is burning every day with the etzim, with the woods, chop woods. He get thrown through whole day. Baruch Hu et Amunai HaMeorach, he says. Or he says Kaddish, that will be nullified. Imagine.
For the day.
He doesn't say for the day. That's your interpretation. Amar lo Rabbi Akiva, ma shimcha? Amar lo Akiva. He says, what is your name to the dead person? He says, my name is Akiva. V'shem ishtcha Shoshavina. He says, what's your wife? Shoshavina. V'shem irecha Ludukia. He says, where are you from? Ludukia. What happens afterwards? באותו שעה קיבל רבי עקיבא ללך לחפש את ההוליד בן כדי שילמדו תורה יעמדו לפני הציבור. Rabbi Akiva took upon himself in that moment. We don't understand who is Rabbi Akiva. He says he took upon himself to go and find this deceased man that getting punished every day, his son. והלך אותו מבשל עולה, אמר לו, יסחנו עצמות של אותו רשע. He goes to the city of the city we just mentioned. He's asking about that dead person. He said, let the bones will be destroyed of that man, Rasha, a wicked person that you're asking. Okay? שאל את אשתו, אמר ימחה זכרו מן העולם. Rabbi Akiva is asking his wife, no. He says, let his name be perish forever. His wife, the wife said it. שאל את הבן, אמר הראל, הוא אפילו מצווה מילה לא יתקיימו בו. He says, the son, even the Brit Milah the father did not do for me, he says. That's how wicked he was. Miyad natal Rabbi Akiva, right away Rabbi Akiva, natal leben, mimoloto oshav lefanav. Rabbi Akiva right away did a brit milah for him, in a spot. Okay? ולא יקבל תורה עד שישבו עליו רבי עקיבא 40 יום תענית. Rabbi Akiva is teaching his son. Rabbi Akiva is teaching his son. Torah, the son does not click. Rabbi Akiva sits fasting 40 days for the son. 40 days fasting, Rabbi Akiva. יצתה בקרוב ואמרה עקיבא לך ולמד אותה. He says, Akiva, you the one who's teaching him. Rabbi Akiva לומד, הלא לימדו תורה קריאת שמע ותפילה. 18 ברכות וברכת המזון. Rabbi Akiva taught him the Torah, קריאת שמע, prayer, ברכת המזון. ועמידו לפני הקהל אומר קדיש ברוך הוא. He says, קדיש יתגדל ויתקדש מרבה. ברוך הוא את אמוני המאורך. That's what he says. וענה הקהל אחריו. And the whole congregation is answer after him. בוא עמד רבי עקיבא בחומה ואמר לו, תנוח דעתך שהנחת את דעתי. He says, you please me, you appease me. He says, let Hashem do the same thing to you. The dead person, the deceased person came to Rabbi Akiva dream, and he said, they're giving me a rest. פתח רבי עקיבא אמר, השם שמך לעולם השם זכור לכל זכריך לדור ודור. He says, Hashem is forever, and your name should be known forever, dor vador, generation and generation. So from here we learn how much a ma'aseh, and a person when he does something great, and we think it is such a small. So Rav Nisim is asking a question for that day. He does not says, you taught somebody Torah. You say he's consistently working for Hashem Yitbarach. Nothing greater than that. And we're saying, no, it's for that day. No, maybe from the hour. No. Anything little that we do, it has the effect. We just don't feel it. We don't have the energy to feel it of it. If we would live the energy that we're getting, everything that we're doing this, there's the endless, countless reward. Even if I'm going to imagine the biggest picture in this world, and I'm going to picture it the biggest palace, I'm going to chip in the seconds of Olam Haba that whatever a person does in this world for every mitzvah that he does. I will chip in it, which just means I will make it worthless to be worth it. Huh?
Watered down.
Right. צחוק וקלות ראש מרגילים את האדם לערווה. He says following, a person giggles and laughs with everybody, with the ladies especially. What happens? וכן אמרו בברכות כ"ב, על ידי זה רואה קרי. A person sees through that seminal coming out from it at nighttime, even during the daytime. Why? רמזתי בסייעתא דשמיא, חכם עובדיה has a חידוש. כי קרי ראשי תיבות קלות ראש יהיה. קרי, which just means kuf, resh yud, he says קלות ראש יהיה. He's acting lightheaded. Lightheaded, which just means he's giggling and laughing, especially with the ladies. What's going to happen at the end? He's going to have this problem of avira, of taking out the semen. שעל ידי זה רואה קרי, and that's why he sees whatever he sees at nighttime or during the daytime. Okay? Of course, there's many factors. People have a FB, people have social media. What are you expecting to see everything that we see? We have a flashbacks that I spoke to somebody today, Masechet Yoma, page 74, it says, if somebody, the looking is much greater than the sin itself. So a person says, I'm not looking, but I'm going to do a sin. No. The looking itself, it's a bigger sin. The looking is come from the Hashem, the thought, come the difference between us and an animal. We could think. An animal cannot think. The action becomes animalistic. That's what they compare to. So the Chazal says, our sages say, that chas v'shalom, a person that I see sometimes, the ladies that chatting and mingling in the stores with the Spanish, with this. What are you expecting? Oh, sweetheart, what are you expecting these words will come up? What these words going to end? Oh, you're too dramatic. Don't be. We're in a modern world. That's what in the modern world happens. Sodom did not even have these type of laws like we have the laws right now. Right? So let's continue. May Hashem be mercy on us. Schok v'kaludrosh margilim et ha'adam el erva. Says a person giggling, laughing, okay, with the ladies. Oh, she's my cousin. Oh, she's my classmate, okay? All this nonsense, right? Or if we're just friends, we know we're 40 years, there's nothing between us. Yes, of course. But the Yetzer Hara made from the fire, that's the problem. We made it from the flesh and the blood. That's the difference. We're making a mistake. That's the difference. מכאן צריכים להיזהר שלא יהיה ביחד בנים ובנות בתערובות. We have to from here be careful, should not mix weddings, mix בר מצווה, should בנים ובנים בתערובות, בוודאי דבר מלגים אותם לערווה. And that's what bring him to make a sin. Okay? כמו בספר חסידים, I had one relative from the other side, okay? He wears kippah, he's a board member in one of the shuls, no shuls, he's a lawyer. Says, when I made a wedding separate, he says, oh, why would you make a wedding separate? Let's make it together. So when you see young couples, they made each other, and that's the way they're able to get married. I said, yes, kol hakavod, very good to you. You see, you could go to shul, you could be Baal Shem Tov, you could be Ger, it could be Goy, it could be anything, right? As long as he does his own mind of the sectarians. And we're supposed to be listening because whatever he said. No, that's not the way it works in the world. Unfortunately, the way that we're thinking is not really accepted from our rabbis. So Sefer Hasidim says following, okay? In Siman 168, Al ta'orov banim ubanot yachdav pen yichattu. He says, Chazal says, do not make a wedding, maybe they're going to come and sin. V'chen amru Yirmiyahu, az tismach betula B'mechola livada, Yirmiyahu says black and white. Ladies are separate. Bachurim zekenim yachdav. Young teenagers with the older separate. V'chen ne'emar b'Teilim. Teilim says 148:12. Bachurim v'gam betulot zekenim im na'arim. He says the teenagers are separate. The ladies are separate. Ela omrim v'lo omrim bachurim em betulot. And the Teilim does not says ladies, which just means young gentlemen, female and male, together. מכאן צריך שלא יתערבו ביחד. A person has to be careful, should not be together. Okay? לכן בבית ספר צריך שיהיו כיתות נפרדות לבנים לחוד. That's why בית ספר, the schools have to be separate. The boys have to separate, the woman has to be separate, the girls, they're not even women yet. לבנות לחוד, לא בערבוביה, should not be together. What do we say? Oh, they're still young. What are you talking about? When we're thinking we are young, we're gonna get old, we're gonna accustom to these things. Then it's very hard for us to detach from him. Whatever we learn from when we're a child is very hard to change. We're already getting older because we got so used to it. It's very hard for us to click. So it says following, Rambam says following, and this is the halacha actually. Chayavam bedim la'amid shotrim b'amei ha'regalim. We know in the Chol HaMoed, people traveling, people together, he says, Rambam, ilichilchot yom tov, Rambam says following, you need to have a shotrim, you have a watch guards. Make sure those watch guards will be women separate, men separate. They're in the Chol HaMoed. Why? Because people traveling, people going to vacationing, and that becomes together. להפיח לחפש בגנות פרדסים שפת הנהר, שיתאספו שם אנשים ונשים. So in the Rambam time also, he says people going by the rivers, by the lakes, ladies, men together, and that's how they're able to come and sin, chas v'shalom. ביחד לאכול, לשתות, they're eating, drinking. ויבוא לידי עבירה, and they will come חס ושלום to do a sin. וכן יש להיזהר בדבר כל זה העם שלא יתערבו אנשים ונשים בבתיהם לשמחה. He says, even you do in your house simcha, should not make a mixed parties. שמא יבוא לידי עבירה, maybe they will come to do a sin. אלא יהיו כולם קדושים להשם. Everybody has to be sanctified and holy to Hashem. וכן פסק שולחן ערוך אור החיים. In the אור החיים in שולחן ערוך says in סימן 521, 529 הלכה ד' כל שכן שריקודים מערבים אנשים ונשים אסורים בהחלט. Men and women dancing together, there's no posek says you're allowed to do it. Not allowed. וכן אמרו חז"ל חגיגה. Chazal says, our sages say, Masech Chagiga in page 11, עמוד ב' גזל ועריות נפשו של האדם מחמדן. He says, גזל, stealing, and arayot, adultery. A person's neshama desires for it.
Of course.
Okay? בשזיכרון כתב על פי פקודתו, הזכירו, אסור במחנה קדשו של ריקודים, מחולות בתערבות נשים ונשים. So a person has to know he develops himself machane kadosh, a camp that is holy, which is his house. בעבור זה יחייב לשלם קנס. If somebody did something like this, he needs to pay the penalty. ואנשי דלא מעלה הלכו להיחלשו עליו עצר השררה. משה שלח יביא את הרב הגדול בכבוד הגדול. So the people start complaining. The rabbi, what he does, he penalizes the people that do mixed weddings. He penalizes it. Moshe, Rav Moshe, please come here. We're doing shiur right now. So it says following, Moshe shalach eta, they said, how can a rabbi able to penalize, he's not doing according to the law. So what they went and they snitched on a rabbi. Okay? The government is asking right now, why are you doing whatever you're doing? The rabbi says, it's a criminal case on these people. What's the criminal case? Neged dat Israel, he says it's against the Jewish law. Having mixed parties. The Goyim, even the Gentiles, is respecting the Tanakh. Torah Nevi'im Ketuvim. Okay? So the rabbi brought the pasuk, a verse from the Yirmiyahu, from the prophet. 31:12. אז תשמח בתולה במחולל בחורים וזקנים יחדיו. He says, then they will be happy. The ladies are separate, and a man and an older was separate. וכן בספר זכריה, same thing says in Zechariah 12:12. הספדה הארץ משפחות לבד. It says, the eulogize the land, separate. משפחה, family, separate and separate. משפחת בית דוד לבד. He says, the משפחה, the family of בית דוד, separate. נשיכם לבד. The woman is separate. לשכן תקנו כבר גדולי הרבנים בעיר פירודה, בעיר מיץ, שלא יחול במחו בחורים בתולות יחדיו. In the city of Mitzvah, they did a decree that nobody doing mixed wedding. That was the decree. Nobody doing mixed wedding. Not right now. We do whatever we want to do. We talk the way we want to do. That's not the way. In Mitzvah, whatever they said, that's what they did. המושל אחד שמע את הדברים, שפחם אותם. He says, the judge, whoever the people snitch on the rabbi, says, wow, I'm praiseworthy you, whatever you did for your nation and for your people. וכלסת הדת ישראל מנהגים קדושים. He says, wow, the Jewish nation, the minhagim and the laws, they are holy. וסיים לכם עוברים על תקנות זה חייב לחזור בתשובה בלב שלם. If somebody will go against, because they want to do tshuva, they must do tshuva on it. ואם יתנו כתב סודרו יחול עליכם חרם, עולם יבדילו מקהל עדת בני ישראל. He says, if they're going to go against the law, they will be separated from the Jewish nation. וקינת השם צבא תעשה זאת להעמיד דת אל תלה. So the Chazal did in the meets, which is a couple 100 years ago, there's no mixed weddings. They made a law, and that was the law. We just don't understand. The Ben Ish Chai says, why chas v'shalom, young kids or young children, teenagers dying? Says this is the reasoning. This reasoning is bringing the chorban, is bringing destruction. You're going to say, what's the big deal? It's not a big, because we don't know effect. Rav Shalom Shevadron, he says something beautiful. There was a child was walking in the street, and a child fell. He fell. And a woman was passing by, and Rav Shalom Shevadron passing by. And the woman said, he fell, he will pick himself up, and he's going to stop crying. She came closer to the child. She starts screaming, Oy vavoy, help me pick up my child. What happened? Until now, she thought that was not her child. So she said, it's okay. It's no problem. He will cry, he will finish crying, he will get up. But when it came to her, what she started doing? She started panicking. When something is not ours, what we do? We say it's okay. When it's ours, we start panicking. Yeah. That's how the humanity is. So what we learn from here? When we say these things, it's okay. Because it's not yours, you don't know the essence of it. That's why we don't panic. זאת להעמיד הדת עלה, וכן עתיק זה משנה ברורה, בביאור ההלכה סימן של"ט. Same thing says משנה ברורה in סימן 339. ואשרי מי שעמד פרוץ וגדול פריצה הזאת. אשרי, praiseworthy is that man that puts the word מחיצה in everything that he does. Okay? He needs to be strong and powerful. כבר כתבו רמב"ם, הלכות איסור ביאה פרק כ"ב, הלכה י"ח, אין לך דבר מכל התורה כולו כמו פרש מן האריות. Rambam says, הלכות אישות, in chapter 22, הלכה 18, says nothing a Torah did not said like to say, stay away from the arayot, from the adulterous things that happen in this life, which just means everything gets involved with these type of laws. ואין אתה מוציא קהל בכל דור ודור, שהם בהם פורצים בעריות בביאת אסורות. He says there's no generation. In each generation, you have these cases. Somebody cheated, somebody have chas v'shalom mamzer. Every generation have these cases. Why they have these cases? Because they're careless. They don't care. If a person does not care, like we said it before, that's what happens. And he says, no, this is okay. If a person goes to Beddin, he would see the Gemara, Yevamot, Sotah, Kiddushin, Gittin. You would see all this and realistically how people are destroying their lives. וכן אמרו חכם מכל האדם, says following, as wisest man in the world, King Solomon. משלי 6:27-28, שחייתה איש אש בחיקו ובגדיו לא תשרפנה, ואם הלך איש אל הגחלים ורגליו לא תכוון. He says if a person goes with a barefooted on top of the charcoals, what's going to happen? He says he would not be affected. לכן אסור לשחק באש. Our sages say we're not allowed to play with the fire. This is fire. ואלו הרקודים יחדיו אנשים ונשים, אף בחורות פנויות בכלל זה. So what if it's a single? We do single event and we do mix חס ושלום. ידע שהם בחזקת נידות. We know they are nida. Nida, which just means they still didn't go, even they don't have a period, they still did not go to mikvah, this is considered nida, and that's considered karet. Atimla erev chupatan. Alehem neumar, esh banurod v'lo tihavhev, gadol avonam menuso. Sanhedrin says, Lamizayin, it's a fire. If a person continue doing, he says his punishment is much, much severe. Schok v'kalud rosh margilim et ha'adam le'erva. Giggling, laughing, acting not properly. ההולך לקנוע או לתיאטרון, מסתכל במראות נגעים אשר שם, הוא בכלל זה. I'm sorry, I have to touch this topic because it's part of the Torah. A person says he goes to movies, and he likes the movies. Oh, Motzei Shabbos Comedy Club, right? He likes it. בכל זה מרגיל עצמו לערווה. This is the Chazal says, He's continuing going to idolatry. How is it possible? אין מביאים טלוויזיה בתוך ביתם עוברים על הפסוק. He says somebody brings a TV to his house. He desecrates this passage from the Eov. Eov says following, 11:14. ואל תשכון באוהליך עוולה. He says, do not put in your dwelling that will cause to bring a sin. And what is it? כי מראים שהם כל מיני סרטונים מעלים דברי זימה והלילות. He says, this is full, the zima which means full idolatry. ועושה כן מגרה יצר הרע בעצמו. What's the big deal? A person מגרה יצר הרע. What he does with the yetzer hara, he's playing with him. He's arousing him. Teasing him, that's the word. He's teasing his yetzer hara. במחוז שווא מדוחים, כל דרכי פריצות הערבות, הרעות השם שנא השם. He says, whatever is hating Hashem, and you want to do it. You want to watch. משחית נפשו הוא יעשנה. He says he's destroying his neshama. So I heard recently a beautiful shiur. A person says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me 70, 80 years. Says he gave you 70, 80 years. What do you need a 70, 80 years for 100 years? You went yesterday in social media. You're going to go before. You're wasting all your time. So what's the point of giving you another year or another day? You're doing the same thing. You're just wasting your life. So what's the point of being here? So the guy says, no, he's going to watch. He's going to watch another 9 hours, another 10 hours. He's going to watch, he's going to watch, he's going to watch. So what's the point we're asking for life? To watch another day? Like, what is the sense of we here? Are we being progressive? Development? No development. So what are we asking another day? What? To watch another day, another movie? Another great Chas v'Shalom movie? Okay, in the misery. What's the misery? The misery, they want to live like in a movie. There's no changing diapers, there's no rent, there's no electricity, there's no heat, there's no kids taken to the camp, there's no hospital taking the kids, chas v'shalom, they're sick. Nothing shows in a movie. But we want to live, chas v'shalom, like in a movie. Right? No reality.
That's Instagram.
That's
Instagram.
Oh, you see?
Put up a moment.
Illusion.
All the preparation.
Right.
What's going on in the back.
Right. Illusion.
5-minute wedding.
Right.
50 years of problems.
Right. 5 minutes of wedding, 50 years of a problem. מגרה במחזה שב מדוחים, כל דרכי פריצות האבות. הרעות אשר שנא השם. He says this is the haters of Hashem. משחית נפשו הוא יעשנה. He says he's destroying his neshama. Then we are trying to pray. All of a sudden we have this movie or all these whatever we watch. Even 20 years ago we watch. This right away appears in a backsplash. One time I say Amunai Sfatai. Ooh, Godfathers. Okay. What's the connection over here? 5 o'clock in the morning. That's what the humanity is. Goodfellas. Okay. It's in the head. It's in the head. All of a sudden it becomes in the head. Right?
There's an analogy that says there's a magnet that attracts a metal.
No.
You don't see the force that brings it close to you, but something is happening between to make it work.
Correct. נפשו יעשנה שורש פורה ושעונה, עתיד ליתן ודין. He says in the future we'll give the din, the judgment. מלבד עוון ביטול תורה מושב לצים. The Chazal says to us, nullifying the Torah, and it says sitting with the scorners. That's what the David HaMelech said. You sitting, a person sitting, is watching his movie. I was number one. Every movie that used to come out, every week I used to run and watch it. Every week. Then you see, okay, you look. You watch the Fast and Furious. Then you want your car like Fast and Furious. There's no driving like this in the street. You get 20 tickets and 20 accidents. Right? Everything that we watch, then we want to realize. Right? The car barely can move, but we want to have the same car. We want to have the same desire. Then we get upset why we don't have the same desire. It's everything illusion. And the Yetzer Hara is the biggest illusioner in this world. He puts the Steven Spielberg in his pocket. That's what the Yetzer Hara does. Okay? That's what he does. Katav Maran, what we say, this is my free time. He just watched, the brain does not work. Eating popcorn with a Coke and sitting and watching and watching. Okay, listen. We did something fun. Or we have something called Shrek. The donkey and a big fat guy, right? Like all the time there's a machloket over there. And everybody, every animal talking. What can we do? Oh, mermaid. Hashem Yirachem, 5, she wakes up, 5 people kissing her. 5 men. What are we teaching?
Snow White.
Right? Snow White, Mo White, you see? So what we know from here, Val Bachul Asur. So it said, Asur likrot b'Shabbat, b'divrei Romon, kegon Sefer Amnual, o Bachul Asar mishum moshav letzim. So we're not allowed to read romantic. Shulchan Aruch says, I forgot, Shulchan Aruch says in Siman 307, Halacha 16. Asur likrot b'Shabbat, b'divrei romanti. Shulchan Aruch says you cannot. Yeah,
Writes it explicitly.
right. He puts it in parentheses. So it says romantic stuff. Okay. Now they have a new thing called housewives. Everybody gets together. Bestseller by the Shin Dalit. Okay. So what happens? They take it and everybody, whatever, I don't know what it is over there, and they read books and books a month. They're living through them, and they're implying in their husband, misken this husband, okay? Right? כגון ספר אמנואל, אף בחול אסור משום משב לצים, וקורא בהם עובר משום אל תפנו אל אלילים. Chazal says, whoever reading the romantic, housewife, or any other sectarian books, it says you put your hearts through other gods. Okay? לא תפנו אל מדעתכם. He said they would not able to control the brain and the mind. Shabbat Kuf Memted, that's what it says in Masechet Shabbat. Ekamin mishum megare yetzarara ba'atzmo. He teases yetzarara all the time. So Rabbi, what we should do? There's so many books, Bitachon, Chovat HaLevavot. There's so many great books that you're able to go, okay, you watch The Housewife or you read or somebody. It's all nonsense. It's all the Goyim, Tiocha Lila, she's the one who make all this production. And we don't understand it. Okay? ואיכה משום מגרי יצרה, מיכה שחברו, מעתיקו. אין צריך לומר שהתפיסו חפצים ברבים, מחטיאים את הרבים. What if a person does these books, publish these books? It says he's a public sinner. מחטיא את הרבים, אין לו חלק לעולם הבא. Okay, what's this Greek philosopher? Aristotle. Okay, so Aristotle says the Torah is the emet. We don't need even him. But he says the Torah is emet. At the end, whatever he got in love, there's this whole story. The Chazal talk about. That he got involved in love. And she did what she did to him. And she made him like a dog, like my student says. And he says at the end, the Torah is emet. All the philosophy, anything that they have, the Goyim, it has a beginning and end. At the end, it's all destruction. That's all it is. A person, what he does is publicize these books. Okay, New York Times, #1. Okay, all these publishers. This guy read, that said, there was somebody in a Yale college read, he gave the authorization, he gave the smicha in this book, and everybody says, and everybody jumps on it. Who is this buying it? #1 seller in the world. וכן במראות נגעים של טלוויזיה מלאות כל מיני תאוות רעות ויצר הרע שולט במה שעיניו רעות. מסכת סוטה says whatever you see, that's what you're going to get. He says they bring a television to his house. Forget about to his house. He brings to his kitchen, to his bathroom. Basically, he's all over. The yetzer hara is all over. And he cannot. He's sitting and watching. He cannot. Right? מסכת סוטה, גדולי דורו. ואין כתוב בספר טהרות יום טוב, חלק ו' בשם הגאונים, שגאונים רבים על מביא הטלוויזיה לתוך ביתו, קורא עליו פסוק, לא תביא תועבה אל ביתך. Chazal says already, somebody brings a TV to his house, do not bring abomination to your house, right? Abomination, Rabbi Nisim?
Abomination.
The pasuk says you should not bring abomination to the house. What's abomination to the house? The Chazal says this is a tzivi. לא תביא את אוהבה אל ביתך, שכל שיש לו לילדים בביתו, especially if he has little kids, מכשילים מוצאים תרבות רע ודומה מיד יבוקה. She says the blood that is in these kids that he brought to do this, he says the blood in his hand. We have to do tshuva. We have to do tshuva, and we have to continue doing tshuva. If you want, I would order a dumpster. We bring all our gadgets and our TV and we dump in a dumpster.
I think that explain that these evil inclinations exist in order for you to understand how to overcome it, to grow, spirituality.
This is wrong. This is
You have enough problems in your life.
it's right. This is Ronnie. This is Ronnie. It's only Ronnie would come out with this Mashiach ideas. Okay? He says, he gives me the TV to be growing.
Bring it, like, for example, like the thoughts that come to your mind during a prayer, for example.
No, man, that's
Yeah, but that's a damage. That's our damage. Damage.
killing you.
Right, damage.
It's our mistakes because we didn't do full tshuva. I know a guy
Yeah. No, not like this. I will do it.
He tells me to do this. He's like, I used to cry for hours before I should remove these thoughts from my brain of what I saw when I was younger.
Wait.
Bro, it's our mistakes. What do you mean? It's not an excuse.